It's been 2 months since the Great Shift happened. 2 months since almost everyone on the planet suddenly found themselves in someone else's body. 2 months since I went from being Benjamin Johnston, newlywed husband from Idaho, to being trapped in the body of a copper-haired woman named Felicity Robson. I'm sharing my experience here, though I doubt I'm saying anything unique. Nearly everyone has their own swap story now. Scientists still don't understand what caused it or how it happened, but the facts are clear. Approximately 95% of the global population suddenly swapped bodies without warning. No pattern, no logic to who ended up where. Just chaos. Let me back up and introduce myself properly. My name is Ben Johnston. Originally from Idaho. I'm 27 years old, or at least I was. I work as a software developer for a mid-sized tech company. 2 weeks before the shift, I married the love of my life, Ellie. We'd been together since college, and those 2 weeks of marriage were the happiest of my life. We'd just returned from our honeymoon, a beautiful 2-week trip to the Caribbean. Tanned, relaxed, and happy, we were excited to start our life together in our little house in Idaho. I remember the moment so clearly. We pulled up to our driveway, luggage in hand. I put the key in our front door, turned the handle, and stepped inside. Then, everything changed. 1 second, I was walking into our home. The next, I was standing in an unfamiliar bathroom with hot water pouring over me. The sudden transition was so jarring, I gasped. But the sound that came out wasn't my voice. It was higher, softer. I looked down and saw unfamiliar hands with slender fingers and perfectly manicured nails. Long copper hair clung to my shoulders, water streaming through it. And then I saw them. Breasts. 2 perfect, round breasts attached to my chest. My hands flew up to touch them in disbelief. They were soft, sensitive, and definitely real. Panicking, I let my hands travel lower, across a flat stomach to between my legs. Where I expected to find my most personal body part, there was nothing. Well, not nothing. Instead, there was a thick patch of copper curls, and underneath, a completely different anatomy. I screamed. The high-pitched sound echoing off the tiles only confirmed what I already knew. Somehow, I was in a woman's body. I stumbled out of the shower, nearly slipping on the wet tile, and approached the mirror that was fogged with steam. I wiped it with a shaking hand, not even bothering to grab a towel first. The face that stared back at me wasn't mine. Large green eyes widened in shock beneath copper-colored eyebrows. Freckles dotted a small nose and high cheekbones. Full lips parted in disbelief. I was looking at a beautiful young woman with dripping wet copper hair and fair skin. "What the hell?" I whispered. The unfamiliar feminine voice sent another jolt of panic through me. Still dripping wet and completely naked, I finally grabbed a towel from a nearby rack and wrapped it around my new body. My legs felt wobbly, and I needed to sit down for a moment on the edge of the bathtub, trying to process what had just happened to me. After a few minutes of deep breathing, I stood up and began exploring the house, which appeared to be a rental property or vacation home. It was small but nicely furnished, with beach-themed decorations, suggesting I was somewhere coastal. The house was empty. Whoever this body belonged to, they lived alone, or at least they were alone now. In the bedroom, I found a wallet containing a driver's license and passport. According to these documents, I was now Felicity Robson, a 27-year-old woman from Ireland who was visiting Florida, a tourist, just like I had been days before. I found the television remote and turned on the news, desperate for information. The screen showed chaos. A young woman dressed more like a makeup staff than a professional news anchor sat behind the desk. She introduced himself as David McHugh, speaking with a man's vocal patterns despite her feminine voice. It was clear he was the regular news anchor now trapped in a makeup artist's body. He was reporting on what was already being called the Great Shift, a global phenomenon where people had suddenly switched bodies. That was 2 months ago. In that time, the world has been slowly piecing itself back together. The initial weeks were pure chaos. Governments declared states of emergency, borders closed, curfews were enforced, millions were displaced, finding themselves suddenly in different cities, countries, or even continents. The death toll was substantial. People who shifted into bodies that were driving cars, flying planes, or in otherwise dangerous situations often didn't survive the confusion. Others found themselves in remote locations without help, or in bodies with serious medical conditions they weren't prepared to handle. I was lucky. I was healthy, safe, and in a secure location. Many weren't. After looking through Felicity's belongings, I found her phone. Besides discovering an embarrassing number of nude photos she'd taken of herself, I also found something useful, a way to contact Ellie. I logged into my own social media accounts and sent messages to my wife explaining what had happened and where I was. A few hours later, Felicity's phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello," I answered, still not used to my new voice. "Is that really you, Ben?" The voice was unfamiliar, young, female. "Yes, it's me. Who is this?" I asked, gripping the phone tightly. "It's Ellie, Ben," she replied, her voice trembling. I'm not in my body either." My heart sank. "What happened? Are you okay?" She took a shaky breath. "I swapped too. I'm in Lucy's body now, our neighbor's daughter." "The 19-year-old?" I asked, trying to picture the teenager who lived next door. "Yes. When the shift happened, I was so confused. I immediately ran to our house to find you, but..." She paused, her voice cracking. "Ben, I saw our bodies, your body and my body." "What do you mean?" I asked, confused about why this would upset her so much. "They were having sex, Ben. Our bodies, 2 older men swapped into them. They were experimenting with their new youth immediately." The pain in her voice was unbearable, but I held it together because I needed to find you, to make sure you were safe. The thought of someone else in my body, using it with someone who looked like my wife but wasn't, made me feel physically ill. But there was nothing I could do about it. The swap had happened, and there was no indication it could be reversed. Over the next few weeks, as lockdowns were enforced and then gradually lifted, Ellie and I kept in constant contact. We video called daily, both of us slowly adjusting to seeing each other as completely different people. She was now a petite blonde with a heart-shaped face and dimples. I was a copper-haired woman with green eyes and freckles. During those 2 months, I had to learn how to live as a woman. The first few days were the hardest. I had no idea how to put on a bra or style long hair. Thankfully, Ellie talked me through most of it during our daily video calls. She'd been a woman her entire life, so she knew exactly what advice I needed, even if she was now in a different female body. When my first period hit about 3 weeks after the shift, I completely panicked. I called Ellie in tears, and she calmly walked me through what to do and how to manage the cramps that felt like someone was twisting my insides with a wrench. Thankfully, Felicity had supplies in her bathroom cabinet. Not the most dignified moment of my life, but we got through it together. That's when I truly appreciated having her support, even from across the country. Felicity's suitcase was filled with typical vacation clothes. light, summer-appropriate, and feminine. I had no idea how to coordinate these outfits at first. The first week, I stuck to simple jeans and t-shirts, but gradually I became more comfortable. Her clothes were high quality and well-fitted. I found myself appreciating the soft fabrics, the way certain cuts flattered my new figure. By the end of the first month, I was regularly wearing dresses and skirts, finding them more comfortable in the Florida heat than I expected. I even started enjoying the way I looked in them, a surprising admission I shared with Ellie during one of our calls. I never heard from Felicity herself. I tried reaching out through her social media accounts, explaining who I was and asking if she was in my body, but there was no response. I feared the worst, that she might have been one of the casualties of the shift. After 2 months of separation, Ellie and I decided it was time for me to come home. The highways were finally open for non-essential travel, and I had Felicity's rental car. The rental company, like many businesses, was still trying to sort out the logistics of the post-shift world and hadn't come looking for their vehicle yet. The day before I left, I video called Ellie from inside the car. I was wearing a green halter top that tied at the front, paired with a simple gold necklace with pearl accents. My copper hair was loose around my shoulders, and I smiled nervously at the camera. "I'm finally coming home," I said. Ellie smiled back, her new face lighting up. "I can't wait to see you. This has been the longest 2 months of my life." It's gonna be weird, us being different people now. We're still us inside. That's what matters. We talked for a while about practical things, the route I would take, places I would stop, how long the journey would likely take. But underlying it all was the nervous excitement of seeing each other in person for the first time since the shift. The journey from Florida to Idaho would take several days. I packed Felicity's suitcase with clothes, toiletries, and snacks for the road. It felt strange packing women's underwear and bras, knowing they were for me to wear. But after 2 months, I'd grown accustomed to the daily routine of dressing this female body. I set off early the next morning, the Florida sun just beginning to rise. The drive was therapeutic in a way. Hours alone on the highway gave me time to reflect on everything that had happened, everything that had changed. I had lost my body, my physical identity, but I was still Ben inside, and Ellie was still Ellie, even in her new teenage form. 2 days into the journey, I stopped at a beach. I needed a break from driving, and the coastline was beautiful. I put on a floral dress Felicity had packed, its fitted bodice and flowy skirt perfect for the warm weather. I called Ellie again, showing her the ocean view behind me. "It's beautiful, almost as beautiful as you." I blushed, still not used to compliments about this body. "I miss you so much." "I know, still got a long way to go, but we'll be together soon. Be careful on the road, okay?" That night in the hotel, I stood in front of the mirror for a long time. I studied Felicity's face, her body. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was looking at a stranger. This was me now. This copper-haired woman with green eyes and freckles was Benjamin Johnston. The final day of driving was the most anxious. I was hours away from seeing my wife in person, from trying to rebuild our life together. Would we still feel the same connection? Would she still love me as a woman? Would I still love her in her new form? As I pulled into our driveway in Idaho, I saw her waiting on the porch. She looked different than I expected. A petite blonde with a heart-shaped face, her figure was surprisingly voluptuous, with a bust significantly fuller than my own modest chest. The contrast was striking, her new body's generous curves making my slender frame seem almost boyish in comparison. Her blonde hair caught the evening sun as she spotted my car. I was barely stepped out of the vehicle when she came running, her face lighting up with recognition despite my changed appearance. She rushed towards me with outstretched arms, closing the distance between us.